this way anyways. So you're going to be seeing me do these things, right or wrong. Hex color, that's a nice one. Let's see. I got some other advanced stuff in here we won't talk. There's random color.
Back on your post.
Sure.
Is that the same as your? I use your table print R command all the time. Does it do the same functionality?
No. Post is the runtime dispatch event. I'm glad you brought that up because I'm going to round up my last 5 minutes with the extensions, and the table stuff you just brought up is I use it all the time.
Fantastic. I use it. Yeah, I use it all the time.
Yeah, no. Post is a shorthand notation for runtime dispatch. And so runtime dispatch, when you want to type it out longhand, it's a lot of typing to get this, just create an event, where I just like to say post and the event name, and I'm done. So again, you see me using these names so that I can keep my typing down to a minimum, and I can remember it. One of the things I always do with runtime is I can never remember when I'm doing it. I don't know what it is, if I'm an idiot or what, but I can never remember if it's capital R or lowercase r. It's one of those It's one of those cases where it sort of like doesn't follow the normal what I'm used to. I'm used to lowercase as the first, and then I remember, oh yeah, runtime. They made it uppercase because it's special. Well, I'm clearly not able to remember this because I always type it wrong when I do it longhand. And if it weren't for these editors that help me out, most of my code would just be like, what's wrong with my code? Oh yeah, I can't type. Okay. All right, extensions, and we'll talk about the big one. So forget about display. Let's go right to table. So some of the big things that I need all the time, I need to randomize tables. So I have a shuffle function. Combining, we can skip those. Another thing I need to do a lot is, a lot of times what you'll see is you'll create a table, it's got some special stuff in it, and you'd really like to have a copy of that table and not modify your existing table because you could break something. So what I do is I make a copy. And I have two functions. I have a shallow copy and a deep copy. Now a shallow copy is get the first level contents, whatever they are, and just make a copy. Deep copy will iterate through the entire table and make an exact copy, if it can, of that table. Now, warning to people if they try to use deep copy, if you have a table that refers to itself and in a sense creates a loop, deep copy will crash because it'll just keep going back into the table. And for example, let's say you have a table where it has an entry and that entry points back to the table itself. That's what's the word for it? A reentrant table. And so deep copy would fail because it would just keep going in a loop until it filled all of memory and crashed. Okay, so the big ones. Forget about the deep strip copy and shallow copy. Those aren't really important. Table save. I use these. I know that Rob has produced these and had a forum post on them. No offense, Rob. I like mine better because they're shorter, and I'm just used to using them. But basically, Rob's and mine are the same functionality. What they are is save is JSON encoding a table, putting it in a file. And then load is the reverse, loading it from a file, JSON decoding it, and producing a table. But I like load and save. It's just simpler. Let me just parse down here real fast, quick. These don't have my new ones. Okay, I'm coming out with a new set of load and saves. I just wanted to mention this. For desktop, I've got a whole new series of extensions that are coming out in a few. This is sort of like a broadcast announcement here in the middle. But in the future, look forward to some new heavy-duty things like locating the documents folder on your OS and finding the desktop and being able to save and restore files from those non-traditional locations instead of just the documents and resource directory. Because I'm finding that in desktop development, you kind of need to be able to do that. Okay, so keep getting sidetracked here, but two functions I cannot. Shoot.
Hey Ed,
yeah.
I just wanted to say while we're here is one of the big ways. I mean, we won't be able to go over every piece of code that's in these SSK files, but one of the big pieces of takeaway here is that you can create pieces of reuse code that you can use in each project. Because otherwise, this code that we're seeing here would wind up in line in your project file someplace and not be reusable and be just really really hard to read through and figure out, troubleshoot and extend. And error prone. Whereas here it's already been kind of
hundreds of
battle
thousands
tested.
of times by now. I mean, in my code. So some of these things I use so much, I know they're bulletproof. They just work.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, I'm sorry, I keep saying, oh, let's do this in 15 minutes, and then I get excited because some of these things are so, I just want people to use them. But I'll end off with the two that I absolutely want you to use, and the real reason that all of this is in here is there's two functions I cannot live without in my development, and that is table dump and table print R. Now, I didn't even write the original recursive, which is print R, but I did write the dump function and have improved it over time. Basically what table dump does is it gives you a view of the first level of a table. And it says these are the indices, these are the values of those indices. So for example, and I'll demonstrate this, make it very simple for people, is let me get the code up here, and we'll go into Gamepad. Where are you, Gamepad? Scripts. And we will run our game. And I'll do both so people can see it. Table.dump event. So we use events everywhere in Corona. And if you're like me, you don't remember everything that comes in these events. You're like, yeah, I know it's got a phase and it may have a time value and some other stuff. Well, I can't remember how the spelling was or what it worked. And I'm so lazy, I don't even like to look in the documentation when I could just say table dump and then I could run my game. Let's go ahead and run this game. And then let me clear the window. Alright, and then when I do a like that and I push something, my table dump here says, okay, I just got the event, the descriptor is this, the device is this, all of these things. So right there, I know everything that's coming in that the phase is up, the phase is whatever. It's like, I don't even have to go look at the docs. I'll just dump it one time. I go, okay, yeah, that's, let's see, what was, oh yeah, key name. That was the thing I was looking for. And left, yeah, that's the value I was looking for. So now I can type that into my code and turn it off, and I'm done. Boom. All right, one line of code. Now that won't come out anymore.
And this is an invaluable tool. The dump and the print R, I use them all the time for my client server projects where I'm talking to Chromium and getting responses back, which, as Charles mentioned earlier, Chris, who made Chromium, has joined Corona. I'm very excited about that. But these are tools that make productivity so much faster.
Yeah, if you're not using a debugger, the next best thing is to print as much information out as you can to your console. And these two functions give you the ability to really dig in, because everything is a table in Corona, really. I mean, besides like a few integer variables and what, everything is basically a table. And sometimes you need to dig in and go, what is in that table? What's going on? So, in dump and then print R, which is basically like dump on steroids, it's the recursive dump. And it does everything dump does, but it digs in. It goes deep.